Here we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to Checkpoint Achieved, episode 18. I'm Bryden, Keks, and I've got with me here today Gage, Paul.
Hi.
And we're going to talk about some big news today. We're not going to focus on some of the smaller stories, but there's some big stories that come out about the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 in the past 48 hours or so. We've been busy playing The Last of Us. Last of Us spoiler cast should already be up by now, but we wanted to focus on some big stories today. Talk a little about our impressions from E3, kind of the after, thoughts from a week later.
After we've had time to cool down and think about...
Yeah, that hot new stuff out there, and then we actually get to compartmentalize our thoughts a bit.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a Remember Me review as well, so we'll talk about that game, which seems distant, so far away now, before E3.
Before The Last of Us.
The world was a different place before all this happened. But we'll do a review for that. Talk about our games we've been playing this week, have an email as well to chat about on the show too, and then we'll wrap it up. But let's start off with Microsoft. And Microsoft came out yesterday, and people were saying they did a complete 180.
Yeah, and when I first saw that, I was like, oh, so maybe they pulled back some of the stuff. But no, it is like a complete turnaround.
Yeah, it's nuts too. So here's the thing, guys. I think we've talked about Xbox One quite a bit, and our situation as video gamers, you may be a little bit less because you live in a place where it's a little bit more rural. Yeah. Sometimes the internet goes out, but we pretty much can sign in every 24 hours. Yeah. I buy all my games new. I sometimes lend games to friends, so that was a little bit of a bummer in regards to that.
I also buy all my games new unless I can't. Like, I had to buy the Darkness 2 used because it was only available used.
Yeah, there's odd cases like that. Like, right now I'm looking for Split Second, which was a weird Hollywood racing game where I know I cannot find that new unless I go to Amazon or something like that. So there's the odd cases that we go about our business that way, but most of the time we are pretty much set in our minds that, hey, you know what, Xbox One, I don't like that they're taking away my freedom, but I actually am interested in what they're doing with the cloud. I'm interested in what's
family sharing.
Yeah, so family sharing is gone now.
And, I don't want to get into rumors, but there was a rumor about what that was going to be, but it was very, very... not a very good rumor. It was like a spreadsheet thing.
Yeah.
That was dumped anonymously, so there's not really anything real to it.
So let's actually kind of dig in here and talk about the main details in regards to what the Xbox One's now going to do, which essentially is going to be a lot more closer to a PS4. It's still going to be $499, still going to come with Kinect, but you're going to be able to share your used games.
Yeah.
That is the big deal here. And
no more 24-hour internet connection.
Yes.
I think they said that you need to connect once.
There's a one-time
setup
system update, which you have to do at the very beginning. But besides from that, you were good to go. And they were really not necessarily apologetic when they were talking about this, but they were saying, we listened to you, the consumers, and your voice was heard. They were trying to ring that bell again and again and again. And the interesting thing in regards to all this is the reaction that's actually come out of all this.
It's still negative.
Yeah, there's a mix of, I think there's people that are happy about this, but there is that negative mix where I think there's, I'm coming from the perspective that I actually, I give them a little bit of applause for saying, you know what, you screwed up a little bit in reading the temperature of the market, and you've gone back on that.
You gonna pre-order that Xbox One now?
Well, let's get to that in a second. But the thing for me is that was never a detail that bothered me, though. The used games did a bit, but not really. I'm totally down for going into this weird cyberpunk future where I have, a robotic arm and I can do handstands on it or something like that. I'm down for that. I'm down for the world going crazy.
I'll get robot eyes.
So, if Xbox One wanted to be a little bit futuristic, a little bit before its time, that was cool with me. And I talked about the fact that I was going to get a console, probably spring 2014. That was kind of where I was thinking with that. And that was when Titanfall was supposed to come out. So give me that killer app. I'm in. Let's go. But with this said, it's just so crazy to see the response from it. And the thing that I've heard from people, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but a lot of people are kind of ringing the question that, they have not confirmed that they'll go back to their original policies. They've been asked this question, and they have not said, nope, this is the way things are. And people are kind of like, what if they, go, surprise, we're actually going to go back to what we wanted to do before. And that'd be down the road, obviously. It wouldn't be right away. But
Yeah.
certain things like that are kind of... I don't know. Yeah, there's sketchy little things in regards to the actual console. But I do give them a lot of respect for the fact that they actually read the market and what they're doing. But they should have done that before. I mean, like, god damn it.
If you had announced that at E3, imagine there would be cheering like there was at the PlayStation conference.
I think the cheering at the PlayStation conference was in spite of what Microsoft did. But I think if Microsoft said those things and also showed off all the games that they did, they'd be sitting a lot prettier right now. They went like, oh, that report before was false. And then they actually talked about stuff on stage and, you know, put the truth in front of everybody and said, this is what it is. Things would have been a lot better. The problem is that Don Matrick came out and said, you know...
He has not helped the company.
But the whole idea that they've already gone down this road and they are now backpedaling, which is nuts. I mean, like, I would have gone if they went into E3 with these ideas. I think they could have tested the market with their Microsoft conference and then went, people don't like this, and then switched it before. But they were like, you know what? We show games at E3, everybody's going to turn around and love us again. And it didn't happen. And that's where I think the big change came from. But still, I give them credit. And you know what? It's one of those weird circumstances where I was at work all day yesterday. And I got off work, checked my emails, and it wasn't like a news source or anything like that. EB Games, which is our local GameStop equivalent, they're actually owned by them. They had sent me an email saying, listen to the news. And this is big deal for them. This is saving them. I think their stock went up 7% or something like that. Things are looking a lot better for next generation. They won't like the idea was that maybe they're gonna have to close their doors because of what's going on here. Xbox One just gave them a lifeline. Yeah, and I mean, it's now flipped, and I got this email and I'm like, they're the first people telling me this is a bit sketchy. So actually, I was gonna go look, like I said, for a couple games because I'm gonna actually talk about my just illustrious trophy hunt that's gonna now go into full gear. I'm turning into Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher series. He's on the wild hunt. I'm on the trophy hunt before the PS4 comes out. But that's besides the point. I went in there and they were just like, you know, we've got the Xbox One and you can do this and that and it's all good. And like I didn't actually ask them right away, but I went up and like, so you guys sent me this email. And they're like, yeah, they went back and they said all this, and they also said too, and we got even more orders, or we even got more stock in for the Xbox One, so I assume you are totally fine now. And they said, guarantee you day one that if you pre-order right now, we can get that for you. So I was just standing there and I'm like, here's my money. There you go. And so now I am officially in for, I'm in for 2 PS4s and 1 Xbox One. So
yeah, I almost went in for 2, but then I'm like, no, because I was going to pre-order again at Radio Shack.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Radio Shack in Souk probably will not get many of these.
Souk in our area is a rural area where people do live out there. It is not necessarily electronically, you know.
That is the one thing that sells electronics.
Yeah.
It doesn't sell very much.
No, it's like, okay, we're here so that, you know, if you need something, you can come to us, but it's not that big shop. And everything that is, you know, you can get all your stuff 20, 30 minutes away from you. You're all good, but for that area specifically, that's a safe bet for that type of thing because no one else is going to Radio Shack.
I asked, it was like a week after, I'm like, you guys doing pre-orders? And they're like, yeah, sure, $50 deposit. I'm like, is anyone else pre-order? And they're like, nope. So I'm like, I'll skip this one.
Okay, we're good now. But yes, for me, I'm not in the business of buying 2 PS4s to sell one or anything like that. I'm in the business of that I wanted to make damn sure that I could get a PS4 day one, that I was willing to put down $50 at 2 different places so that I could then, you know, go to the other store and use that money towards buying a game. Because I know I'm going to be buying games, I buy lots of stuff all the time.
Battlefield 4
yeah.
Day 1 or something.
I mean, there's always stuff like that going on. So that was my reasoning behind it. I'm not going to do it with the Xbox One. The Xbox One pre-order is there though, so if I want to do that, because they do have they have quantity in their exclusives going into the Xbox One, and we've talked about some of those, and I think that'll be actually, if we do have the time today, let's talk a little bit about the exclusive. That'd be a good thing to kind of harp on a bit. But yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes, where the reaction is. But it's really, a lot of people I've seen have like, it's too late. There's
a lot of people I've seen that have been like, they're just doing this for the money, and I'm like, yeah.
No shit.
They're a company.
Yeah, that's
what
they do.
PS4 doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Because you'll buy it.
And I'm really interested to see what the publishers do now, because this is like they were going to side with Microsoft, and Microsoft going back on that is like, oh, so you guys aren't my friend anymore, type of thing. I think EA was getting in bed with Microsoft because of the fact that they were
willing to do this.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge was rumored to be an exclusive, didn't turn out that way, but Battlefront being one game that, or I guess Battlefront wasn't, but Battlefield 4 exclusive content now for the Xbox One. Titanfall being, yeah, that's Activision there, but still everybody kind of seemed like they're betting their horses on the Xbox One, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out now. But yeah, it's big news, and we're gonna get more of this kind of feedback coming next week, so we'll definitely talk about this a bit more, see again how the dust is settled on this big news story. But yeah, there's a couple other news stories in regards to dates. You have the Xbox One story. What's going on with that?
So apparently there was a apparent leak where someone said that it might release between the 5th of November, or between the 1st of November and the 5th.
Yeah.
So it's going to come out before the Call of Duty game does, so it can be a
launch on Call of Duty Day. Kind of sounds...
It makes sense, because they really want to push Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I don't know the source exactly. I've read it 2 places online. That's not great source.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, and that's early.
No, it is.
That's earlier than I thought.
I was hoping, I didn't think... they said November, so that would be very early in November for them to do that. But the rumor for the PS4 is November 13th, and that's fine. I was hoping a little bit. I was hoping maybe they could even sneak it in late October. That would have been because I mean, for me, it's like as soon as I can get it. That's cool.
I don't want these right away.
And this, for them, that brings up the dilemma of that means now that games like Battlefield and Assassin's Creed come out on October 31st and stuff, and that's 13 days or something until that date. And that was coming from, I believe the source was that someone on NeoGAF took a picture of, I forget the store's name was.
It was pretty much the EB Games or GameStop equivalent in Europe.
In Europe. So it is a big retailer. They're actually showing that off, and I think that gives that story a little bit more merit, so I think that could be true.
There's been apparently there's been other places where they've looked in the inventory and it's had the same date for them to be for pre-orders and things like that.
Yeah, there's been connections that it looks like that kind of seems like what could be happening with this, so that makes sense. I mean, I'm behind that idea. So yeah, with that said, those were probably the biggest stories from this week, and I mean, I'm excited to hear more in regards to the dates, because it'd be cool to actually kind of know where things are happening with that. And I think it's good that they might be a couple weeks apart. I'd prefer if the PlayStation came out earlier, but I mean, I can wait. I'd prefer though it's actually smart for both companies though if they come out a little bit apart, because then gamer like me that is thinking about throwing down $1,000 can have at least 2 weeks to recoup, just lick my wounds and then go back and then get mauled with my money again. Yeah. So there's a little bit more space for that type of opportunity there, which is good for both of them, I think. But it'll be interesting, like you said. You thought that was a big deal, whoever comes out first. For example, I'm just hypothesizing here, but let's say Xbox One does come out November 5th or something like that.
Yeah.
You want to play your next gen games, and you're on the fence about, is it going to be Xbox One or is it going to be PS4? There's a good chance that you might pick up Battlefield 4 or something like that for the Xbox One, because it's
the new Call of Duty game, one of the biggest franchises for casual gamers. Are they going to pick? A lot of people pick those up on day one. Are they going to wait the week?
If it's November 13th, I feel like it's smarter actually if you come out earlier, because then you're hitting all the launch days. Because I feel like if for example with PlayStation 4, if you're November 13th, in the long run this really does not matter.
No, it's not going to make a big difference.
But it's the first week or so. I mean, for me, for example, I love to play Battlefield. I love to play Assassin's Creed on the day that they come out, and I don't want to wait. We do the podcast here where we do reviews and stuff. We do spoiler casts. It's in our best interest to play the game
quickly.
Yeah. So
and I don't want to pick up a game for my 360 and then 2 weeks later play the same game on my PS4.
Yeah, and I mean, for example, with Assassin's Creed, that's a game that I feel like I cannot play on current gen consoles. I feel like that's going to be a mess on current gen consoles. We already saw what Assassin's Creed 3 looked like. They're improving that. It's going to be even more buggy on the current gen, and we're just going to see like these games shitted out on current gen that are like low frames.
Watch Dogs.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Watch Dogs looks like on current gen because I think the game's not gonna look pretty. So, yeah, but that's pretty much it for the news there. There's another story we wanted to cover that State of Decay has broken sales records for the highest selling downloadable game. I believe it was on the Xbox Live, and they've sold, pulling it up here, 500,000 paid downloads in less than 2 weeks. So
that's a lot.
Good for them. We've talked about this game not that much because E3's been around, but we've actually played it quite a bit. Last of Us kind of taking our time this week, but it is a fun game, if not a little bit glitchy. They're going to be adding a new mode that is called Sandbox Mode, which is essentially story mode without story parts going on. More just kind of like you surviving, which sounds cool to me. Next step, add multiplayer. I'd love to play co-op with you or something in this environment.
That would be like getting in a car.
Yeah, let's go on a raid together and get something here. That would be
some supplies.
Yeah, it'd be a fun experience to play that out that way. But that was them kind of getting a highlight there, which is good for State of Decay, and that really, to me, echoes that they're probably going to get necessarily, I don't know what the word is, but they're gonna be able to iterate on this.
Yeah, they're gonna be able to make either their MMO.
Yeah, they wanted to make an MMO, so I think that's a possibility now. They could do that definitely, and I mean, I'd be down to see what it is because they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
So I'd be excited to see more of that going ahead in the future. So with that said, let's move on, I guess, to review for Remember Me, which is a game that we had played a couple weeks ago. Did not get the opportunity to actually talk about it on the show, but still wanted to make sure. We were actually going to do a spoiler cast originally, played through the game, made the executive decision at that point that it was not worth doing a spoiler cast. It is still a fun game, but didn't really deserve that type of
praise.
Yeah, it's not necessarily praise, but we look at Tomb Raider, that was a game I felt like people wanted to hear about. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was just kind of fun to throw that out there and do that. Bioshock Infinite was definitely one that we had to do in Last of Us. Yeah. That is a definite one. So, I mean, we looked at Remember Me in comparison, and we're like, we can save our time here and do that on another scale. But, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Remember Me. So this is a game that, was on my radar. It was one that I was excited for, and it was coming from Don't Nod, published by Capcom, and it was something that people weren't saying the best things about going up into launch, but I was still having high hopes for this new IP. Because Don't Nod are, industry veterans that come together, made this new studio, created this new IP that is very interesting, very unique in what it actually was. But at the same time, too, it was also something that, was, I don't know,
it seemed like it was going to be rough around the edge.
Yeah, and so when going into it, I actually lowered my expectations. I saw some reviews that weren't that, that strong for it overall. But actually jumping into the game, I was very immersed in it. The beginning of the game, we won't spoil the game in any way, but it's a very solid beginning to it. Really gets you into what's going on. And the world of Remember Me is so solid in actually what it kind of really brings to the table. And the soundtrack that mixes with that too was another really highlight for me.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts about the game is when you're, I don't want to really get too into it, but when you're fighting in the combat, when you do punches, the music kind of syncs up to you. Yeah. And then when you get hit and it breaks your combo, it's like,
it's very neat how that works in that way. And I think what has Remember Me on the high end for me in a lot of ways is that, or at least the positives for Remember Me, is that the game does a lot to really create this atmosphere and world that I want to get behind. I want to see more of. I want to kind of immerse myself in it. The game is very much pathed in a certain way. You can explore it, but the actual vistas of what you can see are very cool, and the actual main character, Nilin, is very well acted out. Besides from that, the story also is based in a very interesting kind of premise. It is similar to something like Minority Report, but the idea is that in the future of Neo Paris, the world has now created this ability, at least, to take your memories and share them with other people. There's actually memory banks as well.
It's similar to the movie Total Recall, where you can remember something and you'll think you did that.
Definitely, and there's also the ability to, if you want to go experience something, like you want to go see the Grand Canyon, you can go buy that memory. And, if you're in a relationship with someone, you can share your memories together. There's lots of very interesting things going on with that. But people get a little bit junky on this stuff, too. There's these people that go over the limit of what necessarily is the maximum that you probably should take in of memory. They start essentially reaching a level of ecstasy reliving these. Yeah, it turns into a drug in a lot of ways, and that creates one of the enemies in the game that kind of goes through the slums, and these people are shadows of themselves. They are very just hunting, trying to find something. Memories. Yeah, memories continue to live and recruit more people that have turned into similar people like them. So this is controlled by a company called Sensen, and they have the monopoly on the market. They are not necessarily the best company with the most straight ideas that you really want to follow behind, and that kind of leads into Nilin, who's an errorist, which is play on terrorist, someone that fights for the cause of the people and remixes memories of, certain people that are getting in the way of, life moving on in the right direction.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting premise for the game, and I think with the story mixing with the music and the actual environment, it does a lot to make this game interesting and keep you hooked. You kind of said to me that at a lot of points this game wasn't up to par, but you wanted to see the end of it.
Yeah, I really wanted to see the end. The story was kind of predictable in a certain way. Like, I knew there was going to be a twist.
Yeah.
They were painting that out the whole time. And there was some really... The game had really, really cool parts. Like, when you actually remix the memories, it was really cool to see how you could, just change little things, and it would change what this person thought. So, in the early example, the first memory you remix is this girl is going to kill you, so she can have money to treat for her husband.
Yes, who's gone off the limit of what you'd really want to take.
Like OD on memories or whatever it is. But you remix the memories, so she thinks that he dies because of this company that you're trying to take down, the Sensen company. So she's like, are you still trying to take down Sensen once you remix her memory? And then she kind of becomes on your side.
Yeah, the game plays on this, but there really isn't that many actual sequences like this. There's 4 in total. It isn't a big part of the game, but they are unique, and they're actually something that hasn't really been done in video games. So I think that was very cool that they did that. The combos in the actual combat, though, although interesting, can get repetitive at times. Yeah. I think that with the game not relying on the memory remixes that much and really relying more on these combat sequences that fill out the game, which is only about 7 hours long or so.
It's fairly short.
The actual meat of this story is pretty thin. You get through some interesting things. Like you said, it's a bit predictable at times. I enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed parts of it. There's a couple other points I was like a little, this isn't really going where it should, I think, or this is not being portrayed the best way it can. But the combat was both interesting and a bit, I don't know, just at the very beginning at least, I was scared of the combat.
At the very beginning, it was fairly bland.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to get into this game, hold on for at least an hour or two, because the first parts of this game, if the game played like this the whole way through, I probably wouldn't have finished it, because I was like, dear God, this is the worst ever. Essentially, you were pressing the same button 3 times to do the same combo, and that was all you could do except for dodge.
Yeah.
It mixes up after that, where you get press-ins, where these things that you can essentially attach them to certain parts of your combos, and they either add regeneration, extra power, cooldown on your special power attacks that you actually get later on in the game, or linking up certain attacks together to get more power on them. So they're very unique in the way that they actually play around with that, but the actual options to kind of grow on this are not necessarily fully realized, I think. I think that it gets to certain points in the later parts of the game where the actual combos can get a lot of fun to really just chain together. It can get interesting in that way.
Yeah.
But there's also a weird mix of enemy types that kind of get into that too, where sometimes I felt like there was the right amount of enemies on the screen, but other times I felt like they were just throwing droves and droves of enemies.
It was impossible to get into a combo because you're just getting hit.
Yeah, and it was hard in places like that because I really felt like the game was trying to be unique with what it was doing, but the combos from the combat got stale after a while. Very end of the game, I just wanted to see what was going to happen. Didn't, really push the envelope when it came to that.
I was really just rushing to get to the next cutscene.
Yeah, and I mean, when a game gets to this point, I think that's something that is definitely a negative on it. Another negative for it too. Well, don't get me wrong. I want to say the combat is fun at points. I did enjoy it at points, but not all the way through. I'd say is a great experience. The other point too that was a bit of a negative is that the actual acting from the characters can be pretty wretched at points.
The voice acting is what's the name of he's a black guy who's with you. I think it's Danny, something like that.
Yeah, I forget his name as well, but the original guy that you meet that was the one that works at the Leaking Brain.
Yeah.
He that was just
awful.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you also have Kid Xmas, who's your first boss fight.
Even Edge isn't very good.
Yeah, Edge is the guy that talks to you throughout and is presumably the leader of the errors. And it all plays together well, but then, you're wanting more. It feels like this game's on the cusp of being something pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But points like this and the combos not always being the best in combat can kind of bring that down. There are unique parts to the combat where sometimes there's enemies that are invisible, or you only can take down a certain enemy a certain way. But then there's a couple other ones that are a bit obnoxious, like one character that you attack that he does damage to you when you attack him, and it's kind of like, oh, it's okay.
I think there was some pretty cool ones too. Like, I really like the light ones.
Yeah.
That room where you have to turn on the light.
No, definitely. That was neat when they did that. And I like the mix of some of them, but I felt like they were throwing a bit too much at certain points, which wasn't always to the best of this game's interest. But overall, I had a fun time with it. I thought it was a pretty good game. I wouldn't recommend it to go buy right away. I think it is something that has potential, should be checked out if you're a gamer, and I'm going to give it a 7.0, which is a price drop, and it's a little bit lower. But I mean, like, if this game, which it probably will be pretty soon, is $39.99 or something like that, there is fun to be had here. There is a good game to be played. You just got to look past a couple of these minor things that aren't always the best in it.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit lower because I didn't really... The combat wore on me after a while.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the way the parkour was, I'm going to call it.
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to note on, too, is that the game tells you where to jump, and it's good at certain points because it leads you on the path of continuing on, but if you don't hit that jump, you die. It's like insta-death. It's not like, oh, missed the jump or something like that. It's like, this is a direct path that I'm leading on. There's no two options to go certain ways. There's no real mixing up in that type of regard. It's very much, here's the path, here's the story, and you're going to finish this in 7 hours or so.
So I'm going to give it a 6.5, which is a Steam sale. I think you should definitely pick it up if it drops a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're both on the same page. I think that I liked certain parts of it. Actually, the funny part for me is I was going to say probably a little bit higher before, but I've really, after playing The Last of Us and after just kind of sitting on it for a while, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that some of those parts of the game are not on that level of, it's definitely not on the level of Last of Us, but on the level of being a really enjoyable experience.
This game has really interesting ideas with a poor execution.
And it's almost one of those like Mirror's Edge titles that I'd like to see.
They try something new and it doesn't work out, but maybe I'd really like to see what the studio does now.
Yeah, I'd like to either see a sequel to this if they get enough money for that, or something different. And I mean, the reason why I say it is because they were unique in what they were doing. They actually stepped outside the boundaries. They had this protagonist, which was a female, and it was a world that we had really seen realized in that type of way. It was very beautiful, very vibrant, but just a lot of the pieces weren't in place to make this a great game overall. So do recommend it. Play it this year probably. Just wait maybe for a summer Steam sale, or when it drops in price at your local store. Alright, so we'll move on from that to new releases this week. Last week, The Last of Us came out. We didn't really talk about that as a new release, but it is a game that you should definitely go play.
Go get it.
We'll talk about it a little bit later on in the show, spoiler free. If you want to actually listen to the spoiler cast, you can check that out too, which should be in your feed on iTunes. If not, like I said before, subscribe to us on iTunes to get that as well. And games coming out this week. There is Neverwinter, which is a role-playing game coming out from Cryptic Studios. And I've heard relatively good things about it, but it's, nothing that I'm going to actually go play. I'm going to be taking a little bit of break now until Deadpool in regards to games. New Super Luigi U is coming out, which is, I believe, kind of like DLC, essentially, for the Year of Luigi.
Yeah. One of the little funny things I found in Year of Luigi is, how they released a Year of Luigi 3DS?
Yeah.
And it's like all the Luigi cutouts. There's a Mario on there.
That's good. Dungeons & Dragons Chronicle of Mystera. This is another one that I don't know that much about, but it's essentially an updated HD version of, I believe, the game from last generation. And some people have been saying interesting things about it. Murmasa Rebirth is another game that is coming out to the PlayStation Vita. Don't know that much about that one either. Jack and Daxter Collection is coming to Vita. I played through all that last year, and that was a fun one, definitely. Aside from that, just a couple other smaller games, but like we said, probably the game of this week and last week was The Last of Us. Yeah. And let's move on to games we've been playing this week.
Last of Us.
That
is all I've played.
Yeah.
So Animal Crossing.
We've both played through The Last of Us, and we've had a pretty good time playing through this game. It's It's very solid, and you should definitely go check it out. But let's kind of highlight why it's a great game. So first off, story's really solid. It starts off great. The actual pacing of this game is top notch. You really get involved with the characters, get involved with the actual environments that you're in.
Too.
Yeah,
like within 10 minutes, you were attached to these characters.
You're definitely into it right away, and I think that's very solid for this game. Naughty Dog, created the Uncharted series before that, Jak and Daxter and Crash Bandicoot. They've done another fantastic job this game, and it's probably the best game that they've ever made. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of praise there by itself, but the gameplay is so solid. I mean, the story's where it's at in this game, but the gameplay is so solid. It is essentially a survival horror third-person game.
It's one of those games where people will tell you you have to go through stealthy. You can't go and kill everyone and get into every gunfight. Yeah. And this is the first game where I truly felt you could not do that.
Yeah, there's points in this game, because the thing is, you're always scavenging for your supplies in this game. There's points where you can definitely come about and pick up things that you can use, right? You can get your bullets, you can get an extra weapon that's a hand weapon, or a bottle or a brick to use to either distract or to, essentially startle an enemy. And you really have to rely on using all these things to your advantage. Don't use your weapons all the time, because sometimes, you know what? You're only going to have 2 bullets, and there's going to be 5 people in a room.
A brick is a great weapon.
Yes. And it sometimes, too, there's going to be points where you're going to actually have to go through a room and clear everybody out, but there's other parts where you can just...
have to not touch anyone.
Yeah, you're going to want to avoid everything. And it's a great balance of that. I have to say that Troy Baker does a fantastic job playing Joel, and Ellie is done really, really well as well by Ashley Johnson. We talked about BioShock Infinite being a great game with Elizabeth in it. I feel like Ellie's actually a better character than Elizabeth was. Yeah. More fleshed out, and you get to really experience her more overall in this game. So nothing but solid things to say about The Last of Us, and I'm really happy with that overall. You can, like I said, listen to our spoiler cast once you finish the game, but do check this out, and we'll have a review up on the website. But me and Gage both gave it a 10. Mike Leahy was another person that's regularly on the show, gave it a 10 as well.
He's harsher with games.
Yeah, he's one that, when we talked about BioShock Infinite, we both gave it 9.8s. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was a better game than most we've played in the past year or so, and it's just stepped it up to another level on top of that. And I mean, the thing is with that, we've now switched our rating scale, so we can't do 9.8 anymore. It's either 9.5 or 10, but I feel like even if we're doing increments...
I'd still give that a 10.
Yeah, it's still it's that game that pushes the boundaries of what is a very solid game in today's video game industry, and I'm very excited to see what Naughty Dog's going to do going ahead into next gen. But I guess, I've played a little bit more of Animal Crossing. My brother actually has taken the 3DS now hostage, and he is addicted to this game.
I am too.
Yeah, and share your woes and your experiences.
Okay, so this is my first Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So I was coming into this expecting something goofy that I'd play for 3 hours and be like, okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. Yeah. I am hooked. Tom Nook has me. I owe him. I am Tom Nook's bitch at this point.
That's pretty much the story of Animal Crossing in a nutshell.
I'm mayor, and I just got my developership permit. Oh, yeah. So you can do that, and that allows you to build bridges and stuff. That's cool. I wasn't really focusing on that because I was trying to get money to pay off this house.
Yeah, it's I just want to be out of debt.
Yeah, and so I've been interacting with all the townspeople, and I went in a bug catching thing last week.
Yeah, and it's really cool for stuff like that too, because it's on Saturday at 10 a.m. here's the bug catching tournament. You're like, oh shit, I gotta make some time to go to this tournament.
I set an alarm on my phone.
Yeah.
And I actually I think I had the day off, so I woke up and played Animal Crossing
just to be a part of this bug catching tournament.
Yeah, I'm hooked. Whenever I keep it in my car or with me at some point.
Yeah.
So whenever I have 10 minutes, it's perfect to just whip out, collect some fruit, and then put it away.
Definitely. I mean, it's a game that I'm actually at the point right now where I'm a bit I'm not sure if I want to jump in, because I've already experienced Animal Crossing on the GameCube. That was a game that I got into, I had a fun time with, but I know what the world is. I had fun playing, 30 minutes to an hour of it so far, but like you, my brother's having that same experience where he's just immersed right now. He is totally into it, playing with his friends, looking stuff up.
I haven't played with anyone online.
And I mean, for me, like, it's like, I don't want to take that away from Slash. I also don't want to be sucked up into that world a little bit.
I can understand that.
So with that said, I want to jump to something else. And this is in regards to games, because you know what? You guys are going to be along for the ride. I have a back catalog of games. They're not that massive. We talked about the games that we want to play before this generation's over. But the other bet that I had, again with my brother, we made a deal about the PS4. Theoretically, at the time, we're saying we're probably going to get the PS4. So here was the deal that there was this screenshot that went up of Henry Bale, which is a theoretical made-up person that was used to show off the PS4 interface. And Henry Bale, he looks like he's pretty good at collecting trophies. He's a level 17, 33%, has like 2,500 trophies.
Bunch of platinums.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a lot for someone. Like, I was looking at him thinking, you know, like that's a pretty good example for them to show off. And I thought to myself, I'm a high level 14 right now. I think I can beat Henry. I don't like this Henry guy. He looks too smug in his picture. I want to beat this guy. And
he's personally insulting you with his picture.
Yes,
I got more trophies than you.
He's saying that to me. I got more platinums than him though, so you know, take
you
that.
You really win.
Yeah, I win the battle because I actually completed games, 100% of them. But yeah, so the thing was that, as I said to myself, that I wanted to make a bit of a challenge because I like collecting trophies. I like doing that. I don't want to get through games. I wanted to continue on from 50 games last year. I don't want to do 50 games again this year. I might actually surpass my goal that I made last year just out of playing games. But the thing is that I wanted to make some sort of goal that I could shoot for going into the PS4. And the goal was that I wanted to get to level 17, 34%. I wanted to be 1% higher than Henry Bale. If I could do that, I'd be a happy person. If I couldn't, I wouldn't buy a PS4. I've got the PS4 pre-ordered, but my inner monologue for that was, if I can't get to that before the launch of the PS4, I will not go out and buy it. I'm not allowed to buy it till I beat Henry, till I can get past this guy, this theoretical person. But the thing is, it's on now because I got the pre-order on. It's official. If I don't make it,
There goes your pre-order.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm gonna stick to my word on this. So I am officially going into this. I am making it a challenge, and I'm going to fully get my way there. I've been doing really good this year. I've made my way all the way up to level 15, 65% a couple days ago, and I felt pretty good about that. But I did the math. I was like, theoretically, saying that word a lot right now, but you know, if I can get to his level, how much do I have to actually get per week? And it turned out that I need to get 8% per week, which at my level now kind of works out to being like 30, 40 trophies or 30, 40 bronze a week. Which is a lot.
That's like a whole game.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to figure out a way to make this happen. I'm not going to be able to do this straight up just playing games without actually looking for trophies. So I went out and made my business of trying to figure out games that I can actually play to get some good trophies on. And Spec Ops: The Line was a game on PlayStation Plus that I already played this year in January on the PC. But I played through that game, got like 30 trophies again on easy, just had my podcast plugged in, went through that, did that. I also played Machinarium, which was another game that was on PlayStation Plus. Never played that game. Really cool point-and-click experience. It was something that you guys should definitely check out if you do have PlayStation Plus. It's a game where you play as a robot that's separated from his girlfriend, essentially, and there's these bullies that you have to deal with. But it's essentially like the pick up this object, combine it with this other object, get past this part. Like, you're going through rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that game, you can actually, if you just beat the game, you get 100% on it. So I did that, got a bunch of trophies for that. Played Frogger Returns, which I do not condone anybody to do. It's not a great game.
Is it just Frogger?
It is essentially Frogger. It looks terrible. But I got 3 golds and a silver from it, so did that. Then I did this other one that's like, I don't even know what it's called. It's some weird Polish game that's not even a game. It's like a movie sequence that you can stop and rewind and shake your six-axis controller to do. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm essentially going full trophy beep to get myself to that place. But what's happened is I've also played Shatter too. Like, I'm past 48 hours. I have played all these games. I am just hammering away trying to get myself. Not necessarily, I'm not going to try and get myself to that level right away, but the goal is I want to
get close enough where you're comfortable.
Yeah, I want to be like 50% away and be like, okay, I got 3 months to get 50%. I don't even have to break a sweat. I will just play games and I'll get there by my own course. Maybe even get like 10% higher by the end of it all,
Yeah.
just so there's no pressure on me. But what that means right now is when I'm going to have these days off and stuff like that, I'm officially going to go through my back catalog, play through all these games, get stuff like God of War collection, get Ratchet & Clank collection, because those ones have gold trophies ladled throughout them, and play through all that stuff, try and get as many gold trophies as I possibly can. So yeah, I got 27% in the past 2 days. So I need to get like 169 overall. So I've already got like 1/10 of it pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy about that overall. But yeah, that's my weird story I've got there in regards to PlayStation trophies and me pushing the envelope trying to get those. So when I'm going to be talking about games, I'm going to be talking about, interesting new experiences that I'm having, but I'm also going to highlight some older games for you guys in the next, 8 weeks or so, where I'll be saying, hey, this is a cool game you can check out. It's cheap. It's actually fun. And I'll be like, Trophy Chip, play this game. Like, for example, Frogger, it was like $4, I think. I don't recommend it, but if you want 3 gold trophies, because gold trophies are hard to get 3 gold trophies and a silver for that game, and
how long did that take you to beat?
30 minutes.
Okay.
So like that's what I mean. Like I was looking at like shortest, quickest, most trophies type of thing. Like LA Noir's another game I'm gonna probably play through now because it has like 5 or 7 gold trophies.
You can get that at Walmart for.
Oh yeah, well you Gage sent me a picture with LA Noir in the bargain bin
at Walmart,
and he's like, where it belongs, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. And that's like one of those games that we're talking about, games of the generation, which we'll be doing in the near future, actually, mid-July, and that's going to be a podcast where we have everybody on, all of us send in 10 of our top 10 into an anonymous ballot. We mix it all together and we'll hash out our top 10 games of the generation at that point, which will be a lot of fun to do. LA Noir is, kicking around like 15 or 20 there on the top games of the generation for me. So, I mean,
might not make the list.
Yeah, well, it's one of those games where it's like, I won't put it on my list just to avoid the, embarrassment of like, that was me.
That's a first round draft elimination.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to make my point, my picks count. I'm looking at the games right now. We're all kind of taking our time to really look back, really look at all the games that we played and start to get an idea of this. But with me on that one, it's kind of like, you guys will know it's me. There's no one else that's going to condone for that game. And with games like Uncharted 2 that I really want to fight for to be like in the middle of the pack on that list, that's a game that I'm willing to just put aside and not do that for. So yeah, but I will be talking about games like that, not necessarily LA Noir, but other games that are cheap games you can play that have got good trophies in them. I'll highlight the trophies, how long it has to take. Like Machinarium, a couple hours to play through that. You get like, I don't know what it was, like 1 gold, 4 silvers, 7 bronzes or something. It's pretty solid. And just stuff like that. That's, it's a fun experience. Like playing Machinarium was a fun experience for me. And I'm going to try and make these games fun. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole playing Hannah Montana the movie or like Megamind. Maybe Megamind. That's not, I don't feel terrible if I get the Megamind Platinum, but
that's how it starts.
Yes, you slowly fall down the hole. I've played games like Sly Cooper 1 and 2, got the Platinums and those made me happy because I was playing those for like 20 hours. Felt rewarding when
the Sly games are good. I like those.
I
played those when I was a kid.
My top trophy tip, actually, too, if you want lots of trophies, go play Sound Shapes because the game is awesome. It's a lot of fun to play, and there's a lot of silvers in that. You don't get any trophies at the very beginning of the game until you beat the game, and then it's when you do the challenge modes, which are really hard. I spent, I think, 2 days where I spent like 8 hours each day just trying to beat the challenge modes because I got to the point where I had like about 70% of the trophies. I wanted to push. I wanted to get that platinum, and it became mind-numbing. I had to take breaks and stuff. But once I got past that, these were all silver trophies I could get. And there's another thing called Beat School, which is really cool too because Beat School is something that essentially is teaching you how to make levels, teaching you how to make good sounds. But it's just a map where it makes noises, and you have to put the notes where the noises are. And there's only one sheet for each one. But if you choose the right one or you put in the right spots, you get a silver trophy each time. And there's been like 4 or 5 DLCs that are 99 cents each. And you know what? I really enjoyed the game overall. So I bought the first couple. And then I'm like, hey, these are like 10 silver trophies. And I kept doing it because to me, it's just like I was just supporting the developer. Plus, I was getting some sweet silvers. So I got 10 silvers from that for $2. I'm now actually spending money to get silvers, which is... oh my god, I don't know what my life's become anymore, but yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I mean, that game in general is a fun game to play, but I will keep updating you guys on all that stuff too. Didn't play any State of Decay this week, but pretty much The Last of Us consumed my time.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So
Play
that game definitely. But we'll move on to a question this week, and we'll actually set up a question of the week as well because we've been a bit lazy on that. E3 came and gone. It's just been crazy. I haven't been posting actual question of the weeks on the YouTube channel, so that's one of the reasons why we haven't been reading those off too. But Cody sent in a question a couple weeks ago, and it was actually more of a statement, more or less. He was talking about games that were really big in the industry, and he was talking about FIFA and Call of Duty in particular. And what he said was FIFA and Call of Duty are two of the biggest game series in the industry, yet there is so many faults and so much room for improvement in both. If you had to choose, would you rather FIFA 14 or Call of Duty Ghosts be made perfectly? I.e. everything that has been done wrong in the past is done right, and all things that should be in these games are. So we'll answer that, and we'll also kind of spin that too. I think the interesting thing of these big titles that make a lot of money is they're yearly franchises, right? It's really hard to make improvements over 9 months because they start a game. I guess Call of Duty has
2 years.
Yeah, so I mean there is a bit of a difference there, but for example, FIFA pretty much just stops and then they have like a couple months break and then they go right back at it. It's hard to make these games as great as they can be. For me, I mean, this is more gendered to the audience that I have on YouTube and stuff like that, and how FIFA stuff. But I think for me, I'd really like to see an amazing Call of Duty game.
Yeah.
And I enjoy FIFA. But I feel like FIFA's at a good place right now. I'd like to see continued improvements, but I don't think you can make the perfect game. I don't know what the perfect FIFA game is anyway. But I feel like I want Titanfall, and I want Battlefield and these other franchises. Like, I guess Destiny doesn't really fall. Destiny's more in the Borderlands kind of category. But yeah. I want these franchises to make a challenge at Call of Duty and make it hard for them to be the kings going into next generation. But if Call of Duty were to come out and make a game that made me excited to play Call of Duty again, I would buy a Call of Duty game. It's not that I hate the name, it's just that I was lost in the motion of this being a series that I really enjoy, really get behind overall. Yeah. I mean, for me, I stopped playing at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That was the last one that I played. You played Black Ops 2, so you've been...
I haven't stopped yet.
Yeah, you're closer in. But I think the thing for me with that is that I feel like Call of Duty Modern Warfare could very well land on our top 10 games of this generation. It is iconic.
It invented that class-based multiplayer, that build your own class, perks, everything. It invented that. It's
almost like when we're going to talk about this, again, this is going to be mid-July, we'll have a bit of time to really get people's opinions on this stuff. But it's one of those games that I feel like almost all of us are going to have on that list, if not most of us. We're going to give it a spot on there just out of respect, because that was a game that we all enjoyed at one point or another, really had a soft spot for it. It was a great experience, and it created a genre this generation that was evolved. Call of Duty is now how you make shooters. It's not like people are innovating on what Call of Duty is. Before it was people were innovating on what the first-person shooter was.
Yeah.
Now it's like the Call of Duty shooter. There's Battlefield trying to make a different type of shooter where it's a lot more open, realistic, actual vehicle based as well. Whereas Call of Duty is the fast-paced, close quarter type of shooter, right? And I mean, I don't want them to fail. I think that you can actually see, like at E3 this year specifically, Activision was actually kind of stepping back.
Yeah, they didn't show a demo.
No, they obviously showed off a lot of stuff. I'm not going to say they weren't promoting the game, but there's other stuff that they were trumpeting more.
Yeah.
Call of Duty is still their big dog, pun intended. But I mean, it's one of those games where it's like it's gonna become the Assassin's Creed soon. We've seen Assassin's Creed take the backseat to Watch Dogs, take the backseat to The Division. Very well now that Assassin's Creed is the third franchise in Ubisoft's stable, which is nuts to think that like 2 years ago that would have been the case. We were so excited for Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah. And
that excitement being faltered, how everything's turned out since then, it's nuts how everything's kind of just completely did a 180 in that regard. Is that your feeling too that you'd like to see a really great Call of Duty game?
As a non-FIFA player,
yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty much no-brainer for you. But what do you think though? Like, are you excited to see what Titanfall and Destiny do? Like, to bring, maybe not Destiny, but like, are you excited?
Titanfall, I'm super excited for Titanfall. I was huge into Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty 4. And this is that same team that brought those games, and they've added all this new stuff to make it different, but still like a first-person shooter that's going to be tight and fast.
It is, and it's also going to change things up, though. Mechs are going to be involved. There's traversal. It's got like the Halo traversal in a way, where it's like the double jump and stuff like that's there, which is unique. It just makes this different kind of environment that you can play a game in. I'm excited to check that out. I'm excited to see what that's about. But yeah, I think that the Call of Duty franchise, we're on the same page. We don't want to see it die, but we want to see it innovate. I don't feel like Call of Duty Ghosts is innovating.
It shouldn't have a monopoly on the shooters that it does right now.
And it frustrates me. That's why I get frustrated with the series, and that's why I vote with my wallet in regards to it, because I just want to see new stuff. I want to see different things. And, I mean, The Last of Us is a great example of, you know, a team like Naughty Dog stepping out of their comfort zone, making a game that is completely different. Maybe not necessarily the same type of scenario. Made a game that was completely different, though, and they're going to reap the rewards for it, because, you know, developers are going to see more and more now that people really do dig new IPs overall. Yeah. So that is probably the thing that I'm most excited from next generation is the new IPs, not necessarily the exclusives, but what exclusives do, like what next gen consoles do, create this environment where people want to make interesting things. I feel like middle of the console cycle, it's really the point that you get the Assassin's Creed 3, you get the Battlefield 3, you get all these 3s and 4s kind of coming out of the woodwork. It's because people are there, they want to see more of the same thing. But next gen consoles are always the point
new
where
IPs. You got your Watch Dogs, your Divisions, your Titanfalls, your Destinies. There's so many new IPs this time around.
Yeah, and people, like, as a gamer, I want to be wowed. I don't want to see Halo 5
as... I do want to see Halo 5.
Yeah, I'm using it as an example. But you get what I mean, right? It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I want to see different stuff. I want to be told that they couldn't do this on last gen, and this is what they're doing, and this is a great new idea that we can now make. Like the whole idea of the Division and lots of other games doing this, where it's like we're playing online with friends, and then we enter. We enter, like, we're playing 4 players in Division, or like 2 or 3 players in Destiny, and we enter into a local event where boom, 14, 50 people are there, or we're fighting another squad in the Division. These are all things that very much excite me. And I'm really, really pumped up to see more of it in the future. And I think that was the big thing from E3 as well. Just this new idea, this new philosophy on games. Like, people want to play online, let's mix it into our single player. Yeah. So, but yeah, with that said, that's pretty much it for this week's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you could rate us on iTunes, that'd be absolutely fantastic, as we want to keep on doing the podcast, keep on getting it out to more and more people. So those 5-star ratings are absolutely fantastic. If you can even write a review too, that'd be really, really awesome as well. We'll read them off on the show. And with that said as well, next week we'll be playing Deadpool. So we'll be
excited.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that. Probably have a review out. Maybe not next week, but within the next couple weeks or so. If the game deserves it, maybe a spoiler cast. Probably not, though. Dan Scheinzinger is going to be on the show talking about that too, hopefully. And we'll be creeping more and more closer to talking about the games of the generation in July. So stay tuned to that as well. But we will be taking emails. If you want to send in your emails, well, you can send them to checkpointachieved@gmail.com. We'll have a question of the week up this week on YouTube. So if you want to find that out, you can go to my YouTube page at Brydo, BRYDO0, and you can answer the question there. We'll read it off on the show too. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at the very same place as well. Gage, you can follow at
Gage24Paul.
Yeah, 24/7 Paul. Party hard.
It's my birthday.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. See you around in the future.